Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. How's the weather where you're at? It's been really strange here. I think we hit close to 70 yesterday, maybe actually broke 70 degrees. It's been really weird. I mean, we're talking 1st of February, first week, getting into the second week of February now, and we're in the 60s, almost 70, not even close to freezing at night. You know, we're maybe in the mid to upper 40s at night. A lot of times it's only in the 50s at night. I mean, right now, most people aren't complaining around here because usually we would be dealing with some pretty cold temperatures. I mean, we did have like we had a 2-week winter. But it's strange. I'm sure the global warm alarmists are going to say that that's what it's caused. It is a cycle, and it's something that we as folks that kind of, we try to live off the land. We're a little bit more in touch with the natural world around us because of our lifestyles of homesteading. Probably should be, figuring out some plans, because if this trend holds through, we may have a much warmer year. It could be a lot hotter, could be a lot drier. There's already predictions for that. And so just wanted to throw that out there randomly for you to be thinking about that as you're planning your spring gardens and what you're going to do through the summer. You should probably make adjustments, or at least have contingency plans in your garden, your food production plans, because it could be a little bit different than normal. Now, some of you may not be experiencing this, but according to what I can see on the nationwide weather, most of you are probably experiencing an abnormal winter. Yesterday was an interesting day. A lot of things happened. We had the Putin interview dropped. The special counsel, basically said that Joe Biden's crazy. He's senile, he's got dementia, whatever. He doesn't need to be president. We actually heard a few officials come out and say that he should resign. This is just proof of what everybody's been saying for a while. And then last night, after the Putin interview, they decided to release Joe Biden to come out and do a little press conference. I think personally that just how that all happened, because it seemed to be very off the cuff, very little planning going on. And he certainly, in his little interview, did not instill any faith in pretty much any one of his abilities to continue on as president. I kind of think that his staff, which is all controlled by the Obamas, probably said, well, he's fulfilled his time. Let's just let him loose and see. They're not shielding and protecting him anymore, is what it seems. Even the press secretary was trying to answer why he keeps talking about all of these dead world leaders, and basically it come down to is he's known these people for a long time, and it was all January 6th's fault. It's kind of like it's finally being revealed that the emperor has no clothes. We've all known this. It's just been most of the mainstream media has tried to cover for it, and now we're seeing that less and less. We're seeing them, kind of exposing the truth also. And while some of you might get, a little excited and say, see, things are turning around, it's going to be better. I'm trying not to be pessimistic, but I don't think that that's what's happening. I could be wrong. You may be right, those of you that think that, but I don't believe that's what's taking place. For a while now, and I've heard others say this, I've heard others that are much more knowledgeable, a lot smarter people than me. I'm just an old Ozark hillbilly. But I've heard them say this, and I share this same opinion, that part of the illusion, and this may blow some of your minds. I don't know, maybe you've never thought of this, that it's way, way bigger than what you think. We're told, even by the conspiracy side of the right-leaning whatever, that the PSYOP is that they're trying to implement all of this, excuse me, World Economic Forum, Great Reset, Agenda 2030, you know, globalist, whatever. And that's actually not the PSYOP. That's a PSYOP, but it's within a PSYOP. That is what they want you to think the plan is. That their plan is much darker than that. Their plan is much more diabolical. I mean, because if you look on the surface, if you just pick up the paperwork and their papers of their Great Reset Agenda 2030 plan, it doesn't sound terrible. Now, you and I know that their ways of implementing that are going to be awful, but it doesn't sound terrible, which is why so many people are on board with it. They think all of this, you know, climate, green energy, blah, 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 is a great idea. And so I tend to believe that the real plan has not been exposed at all, that we don't know really what their real plan is. And that this plan for folks like Zelensky and Biden and other world leaders that are, you know, the dude up in Justin Trudeau up in Canada and others, that's just a shell, right? And that they're going to allow that to collapse too. Again, I know this is kind of a deep little conspiracy, but when you start to think about it, it might be true. That their plan is to allow that to collapse too. And it allows, or it will cause the conservatives, whatever, to believe that they've won, when in fact the real plan will rise up. And that's part of that beast system plan, and it'll be much worse. Now, what that is, I don't exactly know. I suspect it'll be a lot darker, a lot more controlling, a lot more chaotic. And that's where the collapse comes in. They want it to all fall. They want the Agenda 2030 plan to collapse. They want what exists now to collapse. They want everything to fall, all of it to fall apart. And then they will be able to bring in this world peace. Because if you think about, to not get too biblical, but I will get too biblical for some of you. You know, it talks about in Revelation where the Antichrist comes in and brings this false peace, and that basically the whole world falls into that. How bad is it going to have to be for the entire world to be willing to fall under one banner? I mean, that's pretty bad, because we've been through some rough times as a planet, and there's never been one single time that the whole planet even considered coming under one banner. I mean, even after World War II with Nazi Germany and the atomic bombs, the United Nations couldn't pull the whole world together. They just couldn't. 9/11 didn't pull the whole world together. You know, all of that. So it's going to probably get really, really bad for that to happen. And it's quite possible that we're starting to see cracks in the plan that's not the real plan. Could be way off on this. I just could be some rambling hillbilly that doesn't know what he's talking about. But I tend to believe that there's possibly something much deeper, much darker, that they're going to allow certain people to fall. They're going to allow certain things to collapse, certain things not to work. You know, these plans, what they're implementing. I mean, you look at stuff like all this green energy that they're pushing, you know, electric cars and solar systems, that they may be fine on a small scale, but they're just not suitable on a large scale. They don't work. And so they're pushing all this, and then everyone buys it, and then all of a sudden they don't work, and there's this collapse because now everyone's got these electric vehicles that don't work, or everyone's switched over to solar powers that isn't enough to keep, you know, cities and stuff moving. And then so there'll be a backlash, there'll be a collapse, it'll be almost reverting back a few hundred years in time, so that their new plans can rise up, and that they can take over, and that they can offer a global solution that everyone will be so desperate because things will be so bad, so chaotic, that they will run to those new plans, and that they will worship at the feet of those new plans, and they will do whatever they're told. So it's possible that we're starting to see that happening. I don't know. There's so much going on. It's so hard to kind of figure out what you're doing. I mean, I guess if I could just sit all day long and just, you know, monitor what's happening, I might have a better grasp of it. And I'm sure there are some that are capable of doing that. And I'm not knocking them, but I've got too busy of a life to do that. So the amount of time that I can spend, you know, pulling out of what's going on in the news is actually pretty small. Just too busy. Speaking of being busy, I'll be going over here after a while to the fire station. We're still working on building that. We've come along a long way, but we've still got a long way to go. And if you find it in your heart to help, there is a campaign thing at the down in the description below or in the comment section where you can donate. If you're unable to, we totally understand, but I know that some of you are able to, and we certainly appreciate it. We've already been able to rapidly increase the response time to 911 calls, medical calls in our area because of opening up this one station and having people on our team that are now available to respond to these calls. You know, before, people around here, it may be 45 minutes to an hour before someone showed up if you called 911, and now we're averaging about 5-10 minutes, which is pretty amazing from the time that we receive the call to we're on scene. So it's a vast difference. But you know, I'm busy, and most of us are, and so we're not able to sit there and pay attention to every little thing. And they know that most people aren't able to do that. And so that's how they get away with this stuff. That's how they get away with it, and they're doing just enough on the surface out in the open to cause confusion and distraction. And there's just so much happening left and right, constantly changing and shifting every day, that the real stuff that they're doing behind the scenes is completely unnoticed. And at some point, it's probably going to hit us like a freight train. I know this. Any of this may not be true. I just could have made it all up. But I do believe that there's some truth to it. And even though you and I may not know what the plan is or how it's going to end up, we know who holds the future, number one. We know the end of the story. We've read the end of the book. If you haven't, you probably should. But we also know that we can survive this. We can survive this by sticking together, by being prepared, by being as self-sufficient as possible. You know, someone the other day in the comment section was arguing over what is preparedness and what is homesteading. And, you know, there's preparedness, in my opinion, and then an advanced preparedness is called homesteading, and mastery preparedness is called community, building a good, solid community. That's my opinion. And that's the things that we need to be doing, because if you can do those three things all together, wrapped up in one, you and the people around you are going to do probably pretty well when things really start falling apart. So start today getting your houses in order and preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.